Alright. Hey guys, welcome back to the Streamies. So this is actually something I wanted to do way earlier, but with Resident Evil Reverse being delayed for so fucking long, we had to wait for a long time. So I figured we could probably get it done before the new year, which is 2 hours. I don't think we'll need 2 hours to go through this. Unlike the Metal Gear fucking marathon we did, the Resident Evil games were very hit or miss. There was no in-betweens. It was all over the place. So I don't think we'll need fucking 2 hours to do this, but we'll do our best. So hey, we're gonna be fucking hold on here. We're gonna be ranking fucking there we go. You'll be ranking Resident Evil games. Cause hey, tier lists are so cool, right? I'm not super behind the trends as usual. Unfortunately, it has been like with the Metal Gear marathon, we did the tier list right at the fucking end of the marathon. So we had all of our thoughts and everything just ready to go. Unfortunately, with the Resident Evil marathon, we did that, and then I fucking stopped streaming for like 6 months, and then I got a whole new streaming setup. And then fucking Reverse and Resident Evil 7, or not 7, 8 and all that, got its DLC and all that. So, you know, it's been a while. We'll try our best to fucking remember the good and the bad and the ugly of the Resident Evil games here. And I do have to emphasize that, hey, this is based entirely on my terrible opinions of the games. Not what I think where these games should be, it's how I like these games. This tier list is entirely how ranked entirely how I like these games. Which is going to be very evident with some of these choices we're going to get in here. Which, hey, I mean, starting off with the first game, I mean, this is pretty clear, and this will probably set a bad example, but Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1, I think that's a best of the best right there. I fucking love Resident Evil 1. It's campy. The voice acting is so bad. Hold on, I've got let's listen to some of this just amazing voice acting.
Hope this is not Chris's blood.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
Oh yeah, baby.
Take a look at this. That was
baby.
too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Wow, what a mansion!
I love Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1. It's a easy 3 hour just blow through it. It's I mean, you know, tank controls take a little bit, just a teensy little bit to get used to, but it just feels good. Once you know what you're doing, you're just blowing through everything. I think, for me, it's probably my favorite Resident Evil, which is probably a bad sign for how good my opinion is. But, yeah, you know, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Which is weird, because I didn't fucking grow up with it, so the first time I played it still was a great experience. But let's go on to Resident Evil 2 here. So Resident Evil 2 is weird. It's very weird. So when we played it during the marathon, that was actually my first time playing the original PS1 version. Hey, about the candles. About the candles. When we played it during the marathon, that was the first time I ever played the PS1 version, which that at that point was after I played the remake, so you know, a lot of it was spoiled, I guess, but it essentially took everything Resident Evil 1 did, but made it better. The graphics, unfortunately, the voice acting, the soundtrack, all that was, you know, improved. But when we were playing through it, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, clearly, yes, clearly best of the best. It is one of the best Resident Evil games out of all these fucking games we got to go through. But for me personally, I still prefer the original Resident Evil over it. You know, just well, not just slightly. There's a big gap in between. So you know, you wanted to get your candles right at the last minute. That's fine. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Was it called the transferring system? No, the zapping system. That's what the fuck the Resident Evil 2 system was called. Where you take the first disc and then the second disc and then you in between. That was a neat feature that unfortunately didn't really honestly amount to much. I thought it would kind of be a bigger thing with the things I've been hearing about it, you know, over the years through fucking osmosis, but it wasn't all that much. I can definitely say though, fuck Mr. X at the end there. Like, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember our playthrough. And the only thing I really remember is us dying to Mr. X at the very end a lot. Which is probably, you know, a skill issue, but I don't know. But yeah, personally, Resident Evil 1 I would put over Resident Evil 2. But that's just I'm a weirdo. Oh, you want the cape. I see. That's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to the cape. So the next game, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis. I think I wouldn't say it's the best of the best. I'd say it's very good. I'm just trying to remember our playthrough of it. I definitely remember having fun with it, but not as much as, you know, 1, 2. Yeah, you need your candles. You get your candles. Get your fucking cape. You gotta buy the exact amount, so. Fucking. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm fucking tired. Yeah, Resident Evil 3. I liked that they brought Jill back. The graphics were essentially the same as Resident Evil 2. Story was, it was okay. Basically just explaining whatever Jill was doing during Resident Evil 2 in the city. It was nice that you could visit some of the locations from Resident Evil 2 and see some of the stuff that was happening. But gameplay-wise, it was I didn't enjoy it as much as Resident Evil 1 and 2. Let's just say that. And I'm also a little peeved that so when I uploaded the VOD of Resident Evil 3, I think it was split into 2 parts onto YouTube. And part 1, still there. Second part, for some reason, YouTube just fucking deleted for no reason. It's just gone forever. Unfortunately, I don't keep my VODs after they get uploaded, so it's just gone forever. Nobody will ever know how that playthrough ended. With me screaming, "Hey, that's Barry!" Oh, right, Barry showed up at the end. Well, clearly, best of the best. No, it's very good. I wouldn't put it on the same shelf as Resident Evil 1 and 2. We'll get to that when we get to the remake eventually. You got everything for now until the next season when you need all that stuff. Essentially. Resident Evil Survivor. So this was a fucking weird one. I liked how it was trying something new with the first person. That was neat. That was very neat. I liked the Tyrant in the game. It looked cool. Unfortunately, I have some bad memories of the final fight with that Tyrant, but I won't dock it points for that. Unfortunately, everything else in the game, the voice acting was bad, so that's perfect. That's what you need in a Resident Evil. The controls weren't great, especially when they introduced, the liquor super early. This game was meant to be played with a gun controller, a zapper. But unfortunately, we didn't do that. We played it with a D-pad. And it worked, but it was really fucking hard. And, the story was so-so. We were kind of just wandering around looking for a kid for a while. And then they tried to just shoehorn that, hey, this whoever main character, this fucking nobody is actually, best friends with Leon Kennedy, meaning he's super important and super related to everything that's going on in the Resident Evil plot. No, not not really. Not really, no. I'm fucking tired. I want to say it's okay, because it was okay, but it was also just it was nothing. It was a 3-4 hour game, which I can't imagine buying this way back in the day for like fucking $60. That would have been crazy. Which again, yeah, you're supposed to buy it with the gun. I don't think it was sold in America with the gun. I think it was just by itself, wasn't it? I wouldn't say it's fucking terrible, because there are some fucking games on here that are fucking terrible. But like, it's just nothing. Like, when I think of all the Resident Evil games we played, Survivor does not usually come to mind at all. And usually, like, when you go through all of these games and you think about Resident Evil, nothing in Survivor really stands out aside from the first person, which, while nice, was super fucking forgettable. Everything else. You know what? I did kind of like how the plot, you could take different paths and it would lead you to different scenarios that would ultimately lead to the end. Like, you could go to the arcade and then you'll meet whoever, and then you kind of go from there. Or you could go to like the hospital, you can go from there. And dialogue would change. So there was reasons to replay it. Get some other dialogue choices. Well, choices. Other dialogue. Period. So, you know what? I'll put it up to it's okay. It tried. It tried. Unfortunately, it was not super good. I guess we'll leave it at that, because fuck me if I'm gonna remember anything else. I like the Tyrant. Period. So next, Resident Evil Code Veronica. And we're not going to be talking about the Dreamcast or the Saturn version, whatever the original. We're going to be talking about X, I guess, because that's the one we played. I liked that they brought back Claire. That was neat. That was cool. I did not like how they brought in the best character ever, Steve Burnside. Steve Burnside is just a whole fucking half of this. Like, sure, oh yeah, look at all this cool stuff. You got the female tyrant. You got you got Claire. You got Chris. You know, everybody's being all cool. And then there's just Steve. Steve hanging out. The gameplay was good. They introduced dual guns, which could theoretically shoot at multiple targets. Didn't really use it all that much. Just trying to think, like, was there really any point in the game where I was super fucking annoyed? Not really, I guess. It was a step up visually, like, holy shit, those graphics, even on whatever the Dreamcast or Saturn, they looked like PS2 graphics, which, you know, coming off of Resident Evil Survivor and the fucking PS1 games, holy shit, it's crazy. And I guess that's really when they introduced Wesker and his superpowers. We got those cool cutscenes with Chris and Wesker doing flips and shit, which honestly we wouldn't see more of until what, Resident Evil 5, complete global saturation and all that shit. It is very good. You know what? I did enjoy it more than Resident Evil 3. I can definitely say that. I think most of the tank control Resident Evil games probably are going to end up on the upper half of this list. God, I'm just looking at this list. There's going to be a lot in here that's... Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, yeah, very good. Yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't say, like, it's one of my favorite of the Resident Evil games, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was a fun go-through. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. Resident Evil 0. So this was first introduced on the GameCube. Oh yeah, hold on here. So, what I'm forgetting is Resident Evil Code Veronica was originally supposed to be Resident Evil 3. And Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was originally supposed to be the spin-off. But I guess there was some sort of deal where I guess Sony was like, well, this is a Resident Evil on the PlayStation. It has to be mainline. The one on the Dreamcast or the Saturn, whichever it was, that probably shouldn't be a mainline game. Just make that the spin-off. So that's why it's weird that a lot of stuff in Resident Evil 3 doesn't really feel, you know, consequential to the whole overall Resident Evil plot. Well, a lot of the stuff in Code Veronica, the spin-off game, the not mainline whatever, a lot of that ends up becoming important in these later games. Which is probably why, you know, it felt like a better game than Resident Evil 3, but what do I know, clearly. Anyway, back to Resident Evil 0. So this was the first one that was introduced on the GameCube with, again, better graphics than Resident Evil Code Veronica. From what I'm remembering with Code Veronica, all the environments were 3D, which, you know, was nice, I guess. It means you could have more camera options. But Resident Evil 0 kept the... what the fuck is it called? Pre-drawn, pre-rendered backgrounds, which look great. Don't get me wrong. It was just, you know, a little weird that we went from cool 3D to back to pre-rendered, which they would eventually reuse for Resident Evil 1 Remake, but that's fine. I've been using this time trying to remember the plot of Resident Evil 0, and it's just gone. Which, you know, says a lot. What did I like about Resident Evil 0? I liked Rebecca, I guess. Billy was okay. A lot of the enemies being animal-based, like the giant bat, the giant scorpion, the fucking monkeys, the leeches. It was nice to, you know, try to fight something different for once, but in the end, it was kind of forgettable. The plot was, oh, hey, look at all this stuff happening before Resident Evil 1. Yeah, totally. Cool Rebecca. Oh, remember her from Resident Evil 1? This is what she was doing before Resident Evil 1. Oh, look how badass she was, blah, blah, blah. Not really, and the fucking villain was pretty weak. Leachman. John Leachman. This is a fucking tough one. This is a tough one. You know what? Fuck. Shit. Like, I think back to Resident Evil 0, and I'm like, yeah, it was okay. But it's like, hold on, we'll put it there for now. It was okay. The gameplay was good. The story was just fucking whatever, I guess. The characters were fucking whatever. Billy, who we never see again. Never, ever. But did I enjoy it more than Resident Evil 3? You know what? I think Resident Evil 0 is okay. And it's good to fucking stay there forever. Which, again, my personal opinions, I mean, if I think Resident Evil 1 is the greatest Resident Evil of all time, then clearly that speaks a lot about my opinions on these games. So Resident Evil Remake, speaking of Resident Evil 1. Ah, man. I will say, it is just better Resident Evil 1. It improved the graphics, the gameplay. I don't know if I would include that with gameplay, but like, it basically doubled the length of the game with some very good additions, like the whole introduction of, hey, some of these zombies are going to turn into Crimson Heads if you don't make sure you kill them. And body burning was introduced, which was neat. Like, when I want to go play a Resident Evil 1, usually I just go with the PS1 version. But it's a fucking Resident Evil Remake. It's good. Would I put it over Resident Evil 2? It is definitely going in best of the best. Like, Resident Evil Remake is damn good. You know what? Yeah. I'd put it right here, but under Resident Evil 1, the original, because, again, I'm a fucking weirdo who really likes the original. I feel like a lot of the stuff I liked about Resident Evil 1 PS1. You know, the campiness, the voice acting. A lot of that was lost because they made it, you know, an actual serious video game with good graphics and good story and good voice acting and some more, you know, ties to the other stuff. But come on. Come on. I mean, when Barry's not
Wow.
going,
What a mansion!
or like,
Take a look at this.
or saying something like
It's a
really good, like,
weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things.
then can you honestly say that's a better game? Probably, but again, this is my stupid tier list, so I'll put it right under there. But like, holy shit! Like, if I was to recommend anybody to start on Resident Evil, I would just point them at Resident Evil Remake, because yes, as much as I love this, it is you know, a pain in the ass for new people to get into, especially if they you know, want to get into all these future games. They should probably start with the remake, so there isn't just a fucking culture shock of, wow, this can't be bullshit. And then going into Resident Evil 2 remake and be like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I did enjoy it more than Resident Evil 2. Yeah, no, that's fine. Resident Evil Gaiden. That was that Game Boy Color one that we super legitimately beat in one playthrough. Fucking, where the hell do I put this? Where the fuck do I put this? I don't want to say it's just nothing, because, and I don't want to say it's fucking terrible. Like, I would not play this on my own for fun, but at the same time, it's not nothing. Like, the amount of work that was put into those sprites, they were very smooth looking. A lot of that stuff looked great. The fact that you had, you know, a giant open ship that you could just wander around and find stuff in on a Game Boy Color was fucking amazing. The fights, while weird to get into, was unique, I guess. I guess. See, the more I think about it, I'm thinking later on that the fucking final boss, where you basically had to just get perfect shots 20 times in a row. And I'm also thinking that, oh yeah, we did cheese a majority of the game by using that fucking gas grenade glitch. I mean, yeah, in the end, I probably could just say, yeah, it's fucking nothing. Oh yeah, hold on, I forgot to put the thing here. Forgot to put the alert box. Ka-chow. But hey, yeah, hey, happy. Well, it's not New Year's yet, Kaminari. I don't know where you are. Soon, we're trying to get this done before that. But yeah, thanks for the sub. Happy premature 2023. Wanted to knock this out before the new year started, so we could just forget about all these fucking terrible games. Yeah, I guess Resident Evil Gaiden. Yeah, I guess I can just put it in nothing. The plot is just irrelevant to everything else, basically non-canon. I don't know if there would ever be a point where I would be like, hey, go out and play Resident Evil on the Game Boy Color. Got you an Xmas gift on Steam. You should play it on stream. You will like it. I did see that game that you bought. What the fuck was it called? Wolfstride? It does look like something I would enjoy. So I probably will look at streaming it at some point. But we gotta get through Pokemon and River City Girls first. And then I'll probably look at streaming it alongside the other thing I'm planning on doing. Basically just all year next year. This year? Question mark. We'll get to that when I actually finish making the assets. But, yeah. Resident Evil on the Game Boy Color. It's not what you expected. Some of the stuff it did was pretty cool. But it's just everything else. Everything fucking else is just... It can just sit here forever, I guess. There would be no point ever if people were like, hey, I want to know what Resident Evil games to play. Where you would be like, yeah, play Resident Evil Gaiden. Just... The biggest selling point, hey, you play as Barry Burton. That's the only reason to play this game. So yeah, I guess it just sits in nothing. Oh boy, the next one probably can go into it's just fucking nothing. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Resident Evil Dead Aim can just go into fucking it's nothing. And just live here forever. So that was that PS2 game. That was technically a sequel to Resident Evil Survivor. And that's essentially the entirety of the game. We beat that in what, 3 hours? A 3-hour PS2 game that you're supposed to play with, again, a zapper, a joy gun, a fucking PS2 assault rifle. It was probably a pistol. It's really hard to... I'm trying to remember, like, anything about this game, which says a lot. I liked the female tyrant. It was, a little confusing that our male villain injected himself with the T-virus, or the G-virus, or the C-virus, or whatever the fuck that game used. And then he turned into a female tyrant. It was very weird. But literally everything else about the game is just completely fucking forgettable. The combat was third person until you needed to shoot at a zombie, which it would suddenly zoom into first person, which was not... It never felt good. We started on a ship, went to the sewer, and then fucking after that, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say it's fucking terrible, because I'm sure it's a good experience if you have an actual, shoot bang gun zapper or whatever. But, like, by itself, this fucking 3-hour Resident Evil experience that, you know, doesn't relate to any other Resident Evils, just its own separate thing. Like, I'm trying to remember, like, did Wesker or anybody even, like, get mentioned in that game? Like... And yeah, I probably would put it under Resident Evil Gaiden. Because fuck it. At least in Gaiden you could play as Barry Burton. I can't even fucking remember the name of this fuck. Let's see what his name was. Give me a sec. Resident Evil Dead Aim... It's the third Gun Survivor game? What? I don't remember that at all. Plot. You play as... What the fuck? We play as Bruce McGivern. And the villain's name was Morpheus. 4 years after the Raccoon City incident. Fucking Christ. The T and G virus. They had the gall to be like, this is the T and the G virus combined, so it is the ultimate weapon. And the only thing I remember about the final boss is that, hey, it was a big lumpy butthole. Yeah, no, fuck it. This thing could just stay in nothing. It is absolutely nothing. If you never play this game, you are missing nothing. Whatsoever. So... Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. Resident Evil Outbreak. Fuck. Where the hell does this go? I like the concept of Resident Evil Outbreak. That was the multiplayer PS2 Resident Evil game where essentially, I can't remember how many players you can have up to. You're essentially, let's say, 4 players actually on like a Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 map, solving problems, puzzles, Resident Evil puzzles with your friends, fighting zombies and all that. It feels like a multiplayer Resident Evil. The problem is if you're not playing multiplayer. Like, even when I played this, when it came out, I did not play it multiplayer. I'm sure if you played this thing multiplayer, it'd be, like, very good. But we did not. We played it single player. Basically, every time I've ever played this game, it was single player. And by yourself, this game is, it is a chore. It is hard. Especially in the first game where there's no saves mid-mission. You got one go. And if you don't know how things work, there's not a lot you can do. I really do think that if they re-released Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2, HD, or I don't think they would ever remake it. I think just HD would probably be the best they would ever do. I think if they put this out these days in an HD version using, nowadays internet where everybody can just join in and play, I think people would really like this. I think it would be, favored generally more than all the other multiplayer shit they've been peddling these past few years, like Umbrella Corps or Reverse. I think people would super enjoy this. But we are going off of my experience, my thoughts of Outbreak. I think it is okay. I like what it is. Unfortunately, I did not play it the way I honestly probably should have. So I think I'll put it just below Resident Evil 0, but above Resident Evil Survivor. It is okay. Honestly, a lot of Resident Evil Outbreak is referenced in later games. A lot of the characters, a lot of the stuff that happens. Was it this game or was it the next game? It's either or of the Resident Evil Outbreak games that they reuse a bunch of the assets for, I think it's Umbrella Corps. Basically, whenever they need to recap Resident Evil 3, they use Resident Evil Outbreak assets, which, sure, I guess. You know what, while we're here, Resident Evil Case 2? Case 2? What the fuck is it called? Whatever. Resident Evil Outbreak 2, essentially. I'm gonna be honest, this just feels like if it was released nowadays, this would just be a DLC. It plays the same. It honestly has kind of less plot than Resident Evil Outbreak, because they kind of just... They kind of just give you, 4 or 5 missions, and they're just like, here you go, here's more Outbreak. No introductions, not really a tutorial, just, if you liked Outbreak, here's more Outbreak. And I can say that, hey, I can put it above the first one. Solely on the fact that you can save during a mission. Adding that feature for single-player people like me adds a whole fucking lot. Even if essentially every mission in that game was completely fucking forgettable. Like, we went to the zoo, I guess. And then a burning hotel? No, I think that was Outbreak 1. Huh. We were in that city that was being destroyed. and there was mines everywhere, and we died a lot, I guess. I don't know. Like, I can remember Resident Evil Outbreak 1 a lot better. We, fucking... The bar... I say I remember it better, but here we go. Oh, yeah. The bar, the nest, the Flaming Hotel, probably, if I'm remembering correctly. Honestly, that's about as much as I remember. Again, really wish we had done this way back when we did the marathon instead of fucking a year and a half later. But yeah, you know what? On my personal opinion, I'll put Outbreak Case 2 above the first one just because you can save. They really need to re-release these somehow. Even just, like, putting them out the way they are digitally, but with, you know, good multiplayer connection. I think people would really enjoy that over a lot of this fucking garbage they have. And then we jump from Outbreak to fucking Resident Evil 4 that probably saved the series. Like, we look at this. Like, after Resident Evil 3, we had... Well, I guess after Code Veronica, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bad Resident Evil games in a row. Bad. Subpar Resident Evil games. Like, at least with the Metal Gear marathon that we did, 80% of those games were made by Kojima. So they all had, you know, a bar of quality. With Resident Evil, they were just fucking shoveling this out after a while. It was all over the place in terms of quality. But yeah, Resident Evil was kind of feeling weird, and then Resident Evil 4 came along. Which there was that whole fucking thing about what it was supposed to be, which turned into Devil May Cry. But Resident Evil 4 as it is, yes, best of the best. I do enjoy it more than Resident Evil 2, but I still, again, I'm one of those weirdos who prefers tank control Resident Evils over the modern Resident Evil controls. It is very good. Even I can't be like, I don't like the changes. Resident Evil 4, for a reason, is fucking re-released everywhere. Probably, I think it's still the best-selling one. It's either that or Resident Evil 2 Remake. Either or. I really wish they would, you know, stop re-releasing it. Which I guess they're going to do at this point because the remake's coming out. Which, look forward to that when that comes out. And what can I say about Resident Evil 4? It's fucking Resident Evil 4. The fucking graphics were great for when that came out. The gameplay is a nice mix of, you know, Resident Evil survival horror and what would eventually become just the norm for Resident Evil. The action. Which, right now, on Resident Evil 4, it was new, it was exciting, it was fun. The plot... yeah, you know, it was pretty good for what it was. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was a little weird going from Boy Scout Leon to Super Agent Leon, roundhouse kicking Las Plagas, doing sweet German suplexes. But yeah, I don't really need to explain this one why it's up there, but yeah. And then there was Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, which was the Wii light gun game that essentially recapped Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3. Wait. No, it wasn't Resident Evil 2. It recapped Resident Evil 1. Hold on, I need to look this up. A lot of my memories of Umbrella Chronicles is mixing in with Darkside Chronicles. Umbrella Chronicles. It was a recap of Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil, and Resident Evil 3. Okay. So it's essentially just following Jill and Chris, essentially, and then introducing its own made-up story. So for this game, they actually remade the Resident Evil 1 mansion, because, again, that was all pre-rendered, 2D, whatever. So it was nice seeing a lot of that in 3D. Same thing with Resident Evil 0, even if the plot and everything of Resident Evil 0 is super forgettable. I think this game would have been... I think this game would have, you know... I think I would have enjoyed it more had we played it on the Wii, which was our original plan, but we played it on the PS3 and not with a light gun. We played it with a controller. I think it's okay. I liked revisiting those stories. Unfortunately, they did cut out a lot of each. A lot of important stuff, it would seem. Which I don't know if Umbrella Corps and Umbrella Chronicles, I don't know if whatever they say happened is the canon, or if we just take everything that happened as canon, but yeah, it was nice revisiting those locations, but the gameplay and everything itself, not with a light gun, was not great. Which, again, we're just going off of my experiences here. I guess I enjoyed it. I'm trying to remember which one had those terrible Wesker sections. I think that was Umbrella Chronicles. Which, if that was the case, then yeah, fuck it. Yeah, fuck it, I didn't enjoy those. Yeah, it was okay. I didn't enjoy it as much as the Outbreak games. It was simply okay. I wouldn't tell people, like, hey, if you wanted a quick recap of Resident Evil, play this. I would just tell them to go play 0, 1, and 3. Which has become a lot easier these days, considering they're basically... The remakes are basically on everything. You can just play them wherever. I guess when this came out, it was a little harder to find those games without spending like $150 on a GameCube copy or a PS1 copy. Yeah, no, that can sit there. Like, I'm fucking looking at this. Do we have any fucking terrible games in? I mean, yes, we do. But we'll get there. Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 is very good. You know what? I would put it over Code Veronica. Despite how I like tank control Resident Evil games better than action Resident Evils, I do have a lot of good memories with Resident Evil 5. I do have fun playing it. It is definitely not so much survival horror, more just survival action. This is definitely the point where the series started, wandering away from the horror part. More to, hey, we're going to be super racist and just go kill everybody in Africa. But, yeah, no, it's It was very good. Like, by yourself, it is an okay Resident Evil, but with a friend, it is a solid co-op game, which ended the Wesker storyline. Okay. We had it kind of start in Code Veronica. I mean, honestly, it started in Resident Evil 1, but kind of put it in focus, I guess, in Code Veronica. But yeah, 5 was a fun time. I still play it sometimes these days, and it's super fun. I wouldn't say it's like one of the best Resident Evil games, but I think it's very good. I definitely remember when it came out, there were very mixed opinions on it because it was like, this isn't Resident Evil. This is shoot bang the game. But out of all the Resident Evil games, yeah, I'd put it right there. Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles. So a lot of my memories are mixing in with Umbrella Chronicles because it's essentially the same fucking thing. It was covering, what was it, Resident Evil 2? Resident Evil 2, Code Veronica, and then it had its own unique storyline to explain Krauser and Leon. Because Krauser kind of just shows up in Resident Evil 4 and he's like, Leon, we have some old memories together. And that's fucking it. Like, what do you want from us who are just playing Resident Evil 4? Like, we don't know who this is. So they decided to, explain that backstory, and it was bad. Like, I'm fairly certain, wasn't it just, I lost my arm and now I'm jealous of Leon. Fuck him, I'm evil now. I'm fairly certain that's how Krauser's backstory went. And unfortunately, they brought back Steve Burnside, which, fucking swell. But this time he was voiced by whoever voices Teddy in Persona 4, so it was an upgrade. He wasn't as whiny, but he's still Steven. But yeah, it was essentially just Umbrella Chronicles. It did play a bit better and it looked a bit better, but unless you're a big fan of the stories it was telling. Like, I can put it above Umbrella Chronicles, but it's just okay. I would honestly just tell people to go play Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. Whatever it made up, whatever backstory it gave was just cool. Great. That's why Krauser's evil. For no reason. Great. Yeah, I'll just leave that there. Resident Evil Revelations. So this was the 3DS game. With all the other fucking games that came out around that time, it was like, okay, Resident Evil's not really spooky anymore. Resident Evil Revelations tried to take it back to the survival horror elements. They brought back Jill Valentine. We were on the, what was it? The Queen Zenobia? The ship. And it was trying to be spooky again. I do think it's very good. Like, how the fuck do I put this? I mean, I'm gonna put it under Resident Evil 3. It is very good. It was amazing as a 3DS game. Let me tell you. When I turned that 3DS on, when I turned that 3D on, and Jill's ass just protrudes out of the screen, it was amazing. And then it got ported to literally everything, where it then became an okay Resident Evil game. On the 3DS, this was one of the best 3DS games at the time. By itself, on a fucking controller, it's okay. I like that they brought back Jill. I like that they tried to go back to the survival horror elements. Unfortunately, all the enemies are ocean-based, so you have your weird sucker urchin zombies who aren't very interesting. They're kind of just literally all the same. Oh, this one has pincers. This one has a fucking crossbow for some reason. And then we had the big shellfish enemy. And the chainsaw guy, because we need a chainsaw guy. At this point, every Resident Evil game needs a chainsaw guy. It is mandatory. And I can understand why they broke up the story. The story was chapter-based, and every chapter started with previously on Resident Evil, and then every chapter ended with next time on Resident Evil. I get that. A 3DS game, you're not playing it all in one sitting. You're supposed to be, you know, playing this on the bus, whatever, one chapter at a time. Without that, on a fucking PlayStation, it is a little weird. Yeah, you know what? It can stay there. Very good for a 3DS game. Very okay on everything else. I really wish they would bring Jill back. I think at this point, aside from Resident Evil 3 Remake, we don't ever see Jill again. Which sucks, because she's actually probably my favorite Resident Evil character. Which isn't saying much, because a lot of these characters are nothing. And then after Resident Evil Revelations, there was Resident Evil 6, which this is a tough one. This is a tough one. Shit. It's not very good. I can say that. But it's also not okay. It's okay. How the fuck do we put this? They didn't know what they were doing with Resident Evil 6. So, it was broken up into 4 campaigns. Leon's campaign, which was trying to go back to their survival horror, like, spooky, there's zombies, and slow, methodical, whatever, jump scares, which was okay. It wasn't really ever scary, and the fact that you could dive everywhere and dual wield, and all the weapons you got kind of took away from any sort of, you know, sense of horror. And then you had Chris, who was trying to... His whole campaign was playing more like Resident Evil 5. Bombastic, fucking shoot everything, action, adventure. Fuck, I'm trying to remember. What the fuck was his name? Wesker's son. What the fuck was his name? Was it Paul? I don't think it was Paul. It has to be something cool because he's fucking Wesker's son. Wesker's son. Jake Mueller, baby. Jake Mueller, and they brought back Sherry Birkin from Resident Evil 2, but now she's all grown up. For that, they were trying to go for, like, okay, you're a super-powered, cool, badass, Devil May Cry, whatever. You literally have mutant powers. You can punch and kick everything as much as you want, do cool flips. And then you had Ada's campaign, which was, Secret Agent Ada, I guess. It felt super unfocused, and I think it was super telling that there was that statistic where, what was it, like, not even 10% of the people who bought the original Resident Evil 6 beat all 4 campaigns. Like, one campaign takes about 8 to 9 hours. 6 to 8 hours. And you have 4 of them. It's a slog, honestly. It feels very unfocused. The story's just... It's fucking whatever. Hey, the C virus was released in China. The China virus. We don't talk about that one anymore. Leon was, the president died, and he was trying to help this new woman he found find her sister, and then he was trying to stop the C virus, and also meet Ada, which fucking Ada died. Whatever the fuck they did to Chris, like, I don't know what their problem was, but Chris in Resident Evil 6 was just the fucking worst. His entire squad died. Every single one of his new fucking squad died. So he goes out to fucking Russia or whatever and starts becoming a belligerent drunk, an asshole. Until, what the fuck was his name? Pierre's decides to get him back, and they're, oh, we're gonna get you back in the swing and avenge your fallen team. And because Chris is being a fucking asshole, just a piece of shit for no reason, like, whatever his personality was in the other games, like, oh, whatever, goody cadet boy, basically he's Captain America, just without the superpowers. They just 180'd it completely. And because of that, he gets his other fucking squad wiped out. Which is completely his fault, to be honest. But it's whatever, Piers is nothing. Whatever they did to Chris was fucking shitty. Jake Mueller and Sherry, it was nice that Sherry came back. But Jake was just, he was just fucking nothing. He was voiced by Troy Baker. He was essentially just Starkiller from Force Unleashed. He was just fucking whatever. I didn't care about him at the end. And then Ada was just Ada. They wanted to fill in the gaps, but it was nothing. Fucking remembering all that is drastically... Yeah, you know what? It's okay. I'll put it under Resident Evil 0, because fuck you, Resident Evil 6. Just all the campaigns... You're playing through the same sections as different characters 4 times. It's just a fucking slog. And a lot of it just blends together. It is okay. At this point, it was definitely the point where the series decided that, hey, we need to... That sounds like it's terrible. I mean... Yeah, because now that I'm thinking about it, like, did I enjoy it more than Outbreak? No. Did I enjoy it, more than the Chronicles? No. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It's terrible. I hate it. It was definitely the point in the series where Capcom realized, okay, we don't know what we're fucking doing with this series anymore. We have a meat Tyrannosaurus Rex as a final boss with a big eyeball. And then on the other side, we have a big, transparent organ man. It's a mixed bag. Which, luckily, hey, after Resident Evil 6, they were kind of like, hey, you know what? We're going to try to make this a bit more spooky. And we're also going to try to steal from The Last of Us. Resident Evil Revelations 2. So Revelations 1 came out, you know, on the 3DS, whatever. Revelations 2 came out on, what was it, PS3, Xbox, and PC? It was episodic, which was the style at the time, because of the Walking Deads and the Telltales and the fucking everything else. It essentially took the gameplay of Last of Us. You know, the third person over the shoulder, you have stealth, you can crouch, sneak around. But its big mechanic was that you were supposed to play it co-op with somebody else. One person would either be playing as Claire Redfield, which, hey, Claire's back, that's cool. or new character Moira Burton, Barry Burton's rebellious daughter who's always just like, fuck my dad. He's always telling dad jokes. He was never there for us because he was protecting the world from the C virus, blah, blah, blah. Which, okay, one person has all the weapons, which would be Claire, and the other would have a flashlight, because Moira didn't want to use guns because of a big plot reason that came at the end, which was... It was dumb, but whatever. So it was unique, I guess. I could definitely see how somebody playing as Moira, who just has a flashlight to reveal enemy weaknesses, reveal item pickups, and basically just light up the area. I could definitely see how that would not be fun, considering most people who want to play this want to shoot the zombies. But as a single-player experience, like, essentially how that works is you play as one character, you hit a button, switch to the other, which doesn't work very well. You also played as Barry Burton, who had all the guns, and his partner, Natalia, which was like a 9-year-old girl who could point at things and see things through walls. She had fucking Batman detective vision, but for smelly zombies. Which, whatever I said about Moira goes like fucking 10 times for Natalia. You have whoever playing as Barry having the time of their life because they're playing as fucking Barry Burton with all the weapons, and then the other player gets to just play as 9-year-old Natalia who can point at things. Literally no combat for her at all. So... man. I like it more than Revelations 1. I can say that. You know what? I like it more than Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Do I like it more than Code Veronica? No. Because honestly, a lot of Resident Evil Revelations 2 blends together, which happens a lot with these games, it seems. The story was good. I liked a lot of what it did. Basically, Claire and Moira get kidnapped and put on an island where they wake up with a bracelet on their wrist that apparently tells them, hey, you're infected with the fucking T-virus. C-virus, G-virus, the D-virus, whatever virus it was in this game. And then Barry's whole thing was he was searching for Moira. Which, hey, big fucking plot reveal. Barry's sections take place, what is it, 6 months? 8 months after Claire's sections? Which is revealed way later in the game, so you think you're catching up to Moira, but you're not. Which is fucking weird, because that would mean that Moira was just surviving on her own for 8 months on a deserted, infected island. They introduced, what was her name? Alex Wesker? Which, it wasn't just a, hey, here's a random new character. I think it was, what, Resident Evil 0? One of the earlier Resident Evils actually revealed that there was 2 surviving Weskers. We only ever followed Albert Wesker, though. Alex was nice. She was a nice new villain. Because they didn't want to just resuscitate Wesker. Because of the volcano incident that we don't talk about. Which honestly felt like, hey, here's our new Wesker. But then everything that happens in Revelations 2, they kill her off basically immediately. I like the story. The gameplay was okay. It was definitely a step up from Revelations. I think at Revelations... You know what? No, at 6. At 6, we were definitely getting tired of the over-the-shoulder Resident Evil formula that we've had since 4. which essentially was what, like 6-7 years of the same thing. So it was nice they were trying something new, even if it was just, hey, we're stealing this from The Last of Us. Which wouldn't last long because, boy, these other fucking games. Do I have anything else to say about it? I really liked Barry. They introduced that cliffhanger at the end, where it turns out that I guess Alex Wesker did implant her personality, her consciousness into Natalia. Natalia was evil at the end of the game. But they never did anything with that, considering we're, what, like 5-6 years later in a completely different fucking timeline. Well, not timeline. In a completely different plot point that isn't, like, ever going to reference that, it seems, unless they make a Revelations 3, which it doesn't seem like they're going to do. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. If you ever need a fucking multiplayer game, a co-op game, either pick Resident Evil 5 or Revelations. Revelations 2. And you know what? They released it on the Vita. Which, fucking wow. They announced it way back when the Vita was big and new. And then it didn't come out for like fucking 3-4 years. And then they just kind of plopped it out. And it runs terribly and it looks terribly. But hey, the Vita, man. I bought that day one. And it ran like shit. And nobody plays it on the Vita, so there's nobody to play multiplayer with. So fuck me, I guess. And then after Revelations 2, they made Umbrella Corps. Which, fuck them. Fucking terrible. Fuck you. Actually, I don't even know if it's fucking terrible. Or if it's just, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. So essentially, this was the point where Capcom was like, okay, we're going to make, we want to capitalize on those, we got to capitalize on those, multiplayer shooters these days. You know, the Call of Duties. Even though, that was a fad of like 2008, this came out in like 2016, I think. They were like, oh man, we got to capitalize on those multiplayer esport games that are getting big these days, which they would just keep fucking doing. They just could not let it go. It feels unnecessary. You know what? It controlled fine. It played fine for what it was, which was just your special agent hunk, essentially. You're not hunk. You're Hunk 2. You're Hunk version 2. And you're essentially just going around the map shooting zombies. There's essentially no plot. The multiplayer was it fine? It was nothing. Essentially, you would think with a game like this, the multiplayer would be you're going to run around, you know, eliminating zombies. No, the multiplayer was just PvP. He's going to run around shooting each other. Did I enjoy it more than fucking Dead Aim? No. Like, I don't even think I enjoyed it. We played it and I was like, yeah, that's Umbrella Corps. It has no reason to exist, and essentially, basically, after it came out, nobody was playing it. This is not what people want from a Resident Evil game. Like, they could have easily just taken the Umbrella off of it, the Resident Evil out of it, and it would have just been an alright zombie shooting Call of Duty whatever. But they wanted to, they needed the clout to sell, and nobody bought it. It's just, it's just fucking nothing. It's one of the worst. It was a cash grab. Was it? Was it? Because I'm leaning more towards it. It doesn't need to exist. It's literally just it's nothing. It's a multiplayer Call of Duty game that has nothing to do with Resident Evil, basically. I wouldn't say it's fucking terrible, because the gameplay was fine. It's just everything. It's fucking. I'm gonna leave it in nothing. It's just fucking. There's no reason for it to exist. And unfortunately, Capcom didn't learn that, hey, this is not what people want. I think there's just some fucking division in Capcom's Resident Evil team. There's just a singular little, like, group of them who are like, we just gotta keep putting them out. As long as we get one multiplayer thing to work that people like, that we can fucking coast off of it, baby. We just need one to work and we're good. I tell you, it'll one of these days. One of these days. Yeah, fuck it. It can stay there. It's literally nothing. It's less than Gaiden and Dead Aim. Because at least those have, you know, Resident Evil stuff in them. And they actually feel like they kind of fit in the universe. It just has no reason to be whatever it is. Especially, what did it come out at? Like 30 bucks? 20 bucks? It's just... It's nothing. It's nothing. Also, when we were playing it and we played the multiplayer match, it didn't even feel like a Resident Evil game. It just felt like a Call of Duty. Ugh. So next would be Resident Evil 7. So this, after 6 and after Revelations 2, they were like, okay, we want to actually get back to the roots of Resident Evil. The spookiness. So hey, here's Resident Evil 7. You're in a mansion. The Baker Estate. There's zombies, I guess. The molded were unfortunately probably the worst part of the game. It was the first one to introduce, hey, the new first person, which, you know what, was fine. Again, at this point in the Resident Evil series, we were kind of just fucking tired of the third person over the shoulder shooting. So the first person was nice. It was kind of more a thing just so people would play it in VR, which was a big fucking selling point. I do really, really like Resident Evil 7. Honestly, I would put it, like, right here. Like, above Resident Evil 2. Like, I do think it's one of the best. It really went back to, honestly, what I liked about the first Resident Evil. You have your big mansion that you're scrounging for resources. There are puzzles that you need to remember, key parts of the map, move back and forth. Kind of strategize which routes you want to take, because, hey, I didn't kill this enemy in here. Yeah, you know, it basically just felt like a newer Resident Evil 1. I mean, I guess the only things I really didn't like about it was Ethan. Ethan was, it's just fucking nothing. If I could put the characters in here, Ethan would just be nothing. They introduced Ethan. They introduced, his fucking girlfriend. I can't remember the name. What the fuck was her name? Mia? I think it was Mia, yeah. Mia, who is a fucking bitch. Well, she's a bitch in 8. She's not a good person, essentially. Like, she is part of the reason all this stuff happens in Resident Evil 7. She's working for the corporation that was transporting Evelyn and taking care of her, which she eventually got out. So everything that happened at the Baker's estate, you could essentially kind of blame Mia for. And honestly, nothing ever really comes of it. Like, she doesn't get her comeuppance. She kind of just gets a happy ending. So the plot is it's all over the place. It's whatever. But, like, everything else, the gameplay, fucking Jack Baker. I really like Jack Baker. He was wacky. Fucking busting through walls. Eventually they did, you know, introduce you with the DLC to what the Bakers were like before they went crazy. Even the flashback that Ethan got that showed them before Evelyn. You honestly did feel bad for these guys. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Lucas sucked. Whatever. Oh, you know what? Honestly, I could say the worst part of Resident Evil 7 was the not a hero DLC. And everything Chris related. So Chris shows up at the end of Resident Evil 7. Doesn't even look like Chris. I think a majority of anybody who played this game got to the ending scene and that guy shows up and they're like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I'm Chris Redfield. And I assume everybody's just like, no, you're fucking not. It was one of the weirdest fucking character redesigns. I know that they were trying to go for the new realistic look with the face capture and everything, but it's like, you have this established character. Like, I know he looked like a fucking Boy Scout from, like, Resident Evil 1 to Code Veronica, and then he got redesigned in, I guess, 5 to the Chris we all know in every fucking Marvel game these days. But it's like, at that point, that's what people know him as. Don't just change him to some normal man. And then the Not the Hero DLC, it was whatever. Honestly, we had more fun playing as Uncle Joe, Swamp Daddy, Jack Baker's brother, I think. It was a neat little thing. Unfortunately, yeah, the enemy variety in Resident Evil 7 was not great. The molded, you kind of are just fighting them the whole game. You have molded. You have molded with a big arm. You have big, bloated moldy man. And then the jumping molded. And then that's basically it. And then Jack's wandering around. It was a nice, good horror game that actually felt like a horror game. After all these fucking games that kind of just lost the horror element. Having Jack wander around the house was something that would eventually come back in these later games as something I would really like. The Nemesis thing. The wandering terror that you'd have to watch out for. Did I enjoy it more than 4? Shit. You know, this is my list, fuck it. I did enjoy Resident Evil 7 more than 4. I know that is blasphemy, but I did really enjoy 7 because it made me think about all the stuff I loved about the first Resident Evils. Yeah, that's good. Resident Evil 2 Remake. I think it's a very easy one. I'm going to put this right here. I think this is the second best Resident Evil game out there. It took Resident Evil 2 and it made it good. The graphics were great. The new how do I put this? The new gore system, the zombie skeleton system. How the fuck do I put this? The zombie layers, I guess, where all zombies had layers, and no matter where you shot them, they would have a chunk left taken off where you could see like the gore, the muscle, the meat, the bones. You could shoot a zombie in the leg, and eventually that leg would fall off. Shooting a zombie in the head would not guarantee an instant death, because, you know, if you shoot somebody in the head, there's meat and there's bones and shit that bullet has to go through. So the overhaul on everything was great. The story was good. It took the whole Resident Evil system that, again, I really liked in Resident Evil 7 of problem solving, managing your weapons, your resources, moving from one side of the map to the other to accomplish certain tasks, while taking care of any problems that may pop up, which, hey, Mr. X? Mr. X was pretty fucking cool. And I know a lot of people fucking hated Resident Evil 2 because they're like, I can't play this game. Mr. X sucks. He's just on the map all the time. He follows you. I can't focus on where I need to go. There's nothing I can do. He's just there kicking my ass. I think it was perfect. Because essentially what it made you do was it made you memorize the map layout and forced you to basically know where to go like the back of your hand. You needed to memorize everything, needed to know, okay, he's coming this way, I need to go that way. If I want to get to this part, but Mr. X is wandering in this area, I need to walk around. I think that was very good. I think that was a very good way of enforcing people to memorize the RPD's layout. Facial capture and everything was good. Like, honestly, I'm trying to think, like, was there anything I didn't like in Resident Evil 2? And I don't think there was. I think just entirely I liked the game. There was nothing really I hated. I had fun playing it all the way through. Yeah, no. You had your Leon campaign, you had your Claire campaign, you had your Leon B campaign and your Claire B campaign, which essentially all these campaigns, the differences are just, did Leon get to the RPD first or did Claire? Or did Leon show up after Claire? Stuff like that. That's essentially what those A and Bs are. They did have tofu mode. Oh yeah, no, they had Hunk, they had Tofu. So there was the unlockable mercenaries. There was a lot of replay value to unlock different weapons per playthrough. Different costumes, which, hey, you didn't have to pay to get these costumes. I mean, you could if you wanted to unlock them, but it was just, they put so much effort into this game to keep what people liked about Resident Evil 2, but just make it better. The plot stayed, they made it better. The gameplay and graphics, they made it better. It was just, it's a fucking amazing game. Like, if I was to tell anybody to play any Resident Evil game, this is probably the one, I would say. Any normies out there. Which, unfortunately, it was followed up by Resident Evil 3 Remake, which you would think after Resident Evil 2 Remake, they would just do that with Resident Evil 3. But they didn't. I'm just trying to think where I'd put this. I think I would put it above Resident Evil 5, but holy fuck. So, they took Resident Evil 3, they remade it, they removed, I think, what was it, like 40% of the original game? They removed the park, they removed revisiting the RPD. Did they? Yeah, kinda. No, wait, you go back as Carlos. They removed the park, they removed the a lot of the hospital. They removed what the fuck was it? The clock tower, the sewers. Yeah, there was just a lot that they took out for really no reason, which was weird. So apparently Resident Evil 3 Remake was made by the B team. So Resident Evil 2, you know, Capcom put all of their money and effort into, and they're like, okay, that's good. Everybody loves this game. It sold super well. I think it might be the top-selling Resident Evil game now. Let's get 3 out there. Get the B team on it, because we got to work on Village, I guess. the A team was working on. And they were going to have the B team here, the same people who were doing Resident Evil 3, remake 4. Which isn't happening anymore because Resident Evil 3 came out. People realized a lot of the game is missing. Like, a lot of the game is missing to the fact that was it half? Like, at least 60% of the disc was Resident Evil 3, but they had a lot left over, which they filled with Resident Evil Resistance. Because they're like, oh, fuck, you can beat this $80, $90 Resident Evil 3 in like 3 hours, and there's really no replay value. There's no mercenaries. There's no fourth survivor. You beat the game, and you're fucking done. That's it. Like, yeah, it had the visuals and the basically a lot of the assets of Resident Evil 2, but it was just not as good. Like it felt like they kind of just shoveled it out, and they were going to do that with like Code Veronica and 4, but thankfully they realized that, hey, you can't fucking do that with Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is kind of super important to Capcom. They need to make sure that this is the #1 remake, the best goddamn thing they put out. So yeah, I did honestly, like, because I played most of these solo, I did enjoy it more than Resident Evil 5, but like it is not one of the best of the best. Like it you can feel that a lot of corners were cut, which is unfortunate, which is also why, hey, it's usually a lot cheaper than Resident Evil 2 these days. And then while we're at it, Resident Evil Resistance. So again, Capcom trying to fucking cash in on that esports 4-player, multiplayer, whatever. The Dead by Daylight formula. 4 survivors versus 1 killer. And I want to say they gave it away free with Resident Evil 3, but can I say that it was free? Because you had to basically buy Resident Evil 3 to get it. I would not consider that free. Basically, Resident Evil 3 was not big enough, so they needed to fill the fucking disc with something else, which was Resident Evil Resistance. You play as a killer, a mastermind, I guess, and well, you can either play as the mastermind or you can play as the survivor. All these great characters that we're never going to see again. Like, fuck me, I'm not going to remember any of their names. And essentially what you do as the survivors is you try to get from point A to point B while collecting whatever thing you need, like a key card or a switch to open up the next area. And you go through, 3 areas, while the mastermind is spawning zombies, traps, whatever around the map. Which, sure, I can see how that would kind of work. But honestly, by the time I played it, which was not long after it came out, like nobody's really fucking playing it. It's really hard to find matches. If you have a team that is communicating, much like Dead by Daylight. If you have a team that's communicating, you're just fucked as a mastermind. There's not a lot you can do. The learning curve was fucking awful. Again, I would put it in it's nothing. It's just nothing. Like, there's really no reason to play it unless you're looking for a multiplayer game. But, like, it doesn't add anything to the series. It was just another attempt at Capcom to... maybe this will be the multiplayer game that people will spend all their money on. No. No thanks. But luckily, after that came out, Resident Evil Village came out. Which, I would put this right there. Right there, underneath Resident Evil 4. I did really enjoy Resident Evil Village. Unfortunately, I guess this comes down to what I think Resident Evil is. I think Resident Evil is survival horror. I think you need to be in spooky situations, scary whatever situations, while trying to manage whatever limited resources you have. Village did not feel like... Honestly, Village just felt like RE4, but in first person. They kind of got rid of the spooks, which... Apparently that's because Resident Evil 7 was... They made it too scary. And people didn't want to play it. So apparently they toned Village down. Which... Okay. It was really actiony. It honestly, it kind of felt like us going from 3 to 4, where it's like, okay, I'm not really scared of anything. I can just blow through them with my fucking automatic shotgun. Like, it's a solid game. Like, it looks great. It feels great to play. It took a lot of the stuff 7 did and kind of did it better. Ethan was, I was gonna say better. Ethan was Ethan. We got the ending to Ethan, I guess. They redesigned Chris. That was great. That was probably one of the best parts of the game. Hey, Chris looks like Chris now. Thank fuck. Unfortunately, it's another one of those situations where it's like Chris just being the shittiest part of the plot, because a lot of the plot could have been resolved if Chris had just said anything to Ethan. So it's like, okay, the plot is whatever, but the gameplay, ooh, baby. Gameplay was good. The environment was great. Lady D and Heisenberg. Mwah, perfect. Some of the best characters to come out of Resident Evil in a while. The puppet section was great the first time we played it, but after you kind of realize that you're not in really any danger ever until the baby shows up, but you can easily at that point figure out what's going on. And then, you know, Moreau, the water, the lake, was kind of a slog. Yeah. Honestly, I would consider, like, Shadows of Rose, the DLC that came out way later. I would consider that a more Resident Evil than Village, surprisingly, with what it was doing. Like, I have some problems with Shadows of Rose, but it was doing more Resident Evil stuff than Village was, honestly. Which, yeah. So then Village came out, and Resident Evil Reverse was supposed to come out with it. But, what was it, like a week before the game came out, they put the beta out, and everybody was like, yeah, this is terrible. I hate this. So they're like, okay, we're going to delay this. We're going to fucking delay this, and we're going to fix it. And then a year passed. Still not out. What was it, half a year later? They're like, okay, hey, we got all this new DLC coming out, third person, Shadows of Rose, Mercenaries, it's all coming back, baby. Also Reverse, here's Reverse, we're just gonna kind of plop this out, whatever. And then they released Reverse. Did they fix it? Did they change anything? They changed Chris. They changed Chris from Resident Evil 7 Chris to Resident Evil 8 Chris. And everything else was the fucking same. So, you know, it's fucking terrible. It is unbalanced. I did go through it and get all the trophies in it. It's fucking... With all the characters they have, just... It is so unbalanced because all you have to do is play as Ada, because not only does her arrows do more damage than a majority of everybody's weapons, her skills get you out of danger faster and can hold people still while you shoot them with your fucking arrows. And the worst part is that it is absolutely pay to win because you can buy skills. I was trying to figure out while we were playing on stream why the fuck I am shooting people first and still dying faster than them. And it turns out that you can buy skills that improve your weapons damage and your health and all that in your armor. So it's like, fucking Christ. Fucking Christ. They keep doing these fucking multiplayer games. And they're just all bad. Like, fucking stop. If you want to know what people want, look back at the Outbreak series, which apparently people still play. That's a Resident Evil game with multiplayer. It's crazy. It's just, Reverse is, it's just fucking nothing. They took all the assets they had and made them terrible and put a terrible fucking business model around it. And the best part is they have a battle pass. A battle pass with no fucking time limit on it. So that means that is the only fucking battle pass that game's gonna have. You max out that battle pass, that's it. They have no fucking plans to continue this. They realized that when they announced this with Village that it needed to come out and people hated it. So they pushed it off. And they're like, well, we already put some whatever into it. Just put it out. We don't care. And that's it. It's just... like, out of all these fucking these Resident Evil games, I would consider it the fucking worst. Because it's... not only is it nothing, but it's just... it wants just sweet money. It wants just sweet money. Ugh. And then, so this would basically be all the Resident Evil games, but we did cover one other game during the marathon. We covered the unreleased Resident Evil 1 port for the Game Boy Color, which, honestly, for what it was, I would put it right here. I would say it was very good. Like, it looked very, very primitive, but it was just Resident Evil 1 on the Game Boy Color. The same environments, the same gameplay, essentially. Like, sure, it's unfinished, so, you know, the zombies, they kind of don't really have a death animation. You can't really tell when they're dead. You have infinite ammo and everything. But, like, had that actually released, this would have fucking blown Gaiden out of the fucking water. Like, I could have easily told people, like, hey, you want to play Resident Evil 1? You play it on the Game Boy Color. Super fine. Sure, there's not, you know, voice acting. The plot is not as well explained, but the gameplay, essentially the same. Like, every fucking part of that mansion was still there. I was impressed how fucking good that game, I was gonna say played and looked, but it didn't look very good. And it kind of played like an unfinished Game Boy Color game, but I was impressed at how well the conversion went, essentially. Like, I'm sad that went unreleased. Because, boy, it was actually pretty solid. Until we got stuck off screen and died. Because we couldn't figure out where we were. But yeah, essentially with that, that's all the Resident Evils. So again, with like the Metal Gear marathon and tier list we did, a lot of the Metal Gear games were very good because they were all made by Kojima. Most of 80% of them were made by Kojima. So they had a kind of bar they had to reach. Because say what you want about Kojima's fucking storytelling, he makes good fucking games. And then, you know, the spin-offs and whatever. With Resident Evil, it's just fucking all over the place. Like, 1, 2, 3, great. Survival horror, amazing. This whole new genre that we're now exploring. And then they kind of just lost track of what they were doing. You know, Resident Evil 0, Outbreak. Okay, whatever. We kind of have the formula. Let's try something new. Oh God, Survivor. Oh no, Gaiden. Oh no, Dead Aim. Oh God, where are we going? You know, Resident Evil hit a slump. I'm fairly certain, like, at least half the Resident Evil games are not made by the same person. At any point. Like, Shinji Mikami was here for a lot of them. I think after 4 he left, and then it's just been all over the place. It's a series of dizzying highs and fucking pitch black lows. Because some of these are just the fucking worst. But then some of these are some of the best games you will see ever made. Especially Resident Evil 1, because my opinion is that Resident Evil 1 on the PS1 is great. Because fuck you. Because fuck you. But, yeah. Yeah. I really wish that we had done this a lot closer to when we did the marathon, because I would have a lot more reference to a lot of this, instead of just my vague memories of, oh yeah, good times, baby. And, looking from here, the future does look good for the Resident Evil series. Like, sure, whatever with Village, but Resident Evil 4 Remake looks very good. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to get a PS5 to play it, so fuck me, I guess. Gotta start sucking some dicks. Gotta get me a PS5. But we will definitely be looking at playing that when that comes out. But, yeah, if you want to get into Resident Evil, play the games. Don't go watch the terrible TV series. Don't go watch the terrible movies. Just, it's a video game. Just stay away from everything else. It's fine. Shut up. Yeah, that's our list. Hopefully, whatever fucking marathon we do next, we can do a tier list of that, because I would like to do a tier list after every fucking marathon we do. But it's like the next marathon we're doing, is gonna be what, like 3 times the size of this? 4 times, 5 times the size of this? It's gonna be ridiculous. It's going to easily take up all of 2023 and maybe some of 2024. But we'll get into that when I eventually finish the stuff I need for that. Because not only do I have to get the games, I want to, create some assets for it. Create some fancy stream stuff for that. But we'll get to that eventually. Yeah. I don't think I really have anything else to say about that. That was our fucking list. I have terrible opinions on Resident Evil. It is clearly established. Wow, that's a lot louder than the last music. Yeah. Resident Evil's good, I swear. Just play the ones I say that are good and not the ones that I say are bad. Despite what Capcom might want you to do. Play our terrible games, they say. So yeah, I wanted to get that done before 2023, and we are just shy of 2023 here. Going forward, I guess we're just going to be looking at finishing Pokemon and River City Girls. Those are our 2 main goals. And then after that, I don't know if I want to talk about it yet, because I have a lot of work to do on it still. But, we've got some plans that we're essentially just going to be spending the rest of the year doing. A lot. And we're not going to be following the same fucking marathon format that we've been doing, because, boy, am I going to get fucking burnt out super fast on some of these games we're going to be playing. But Yeah, no, we'll talk about that more when we get there. So yeah, just expect Pokemon and River City for the next foreseeable future. Probably the next 2 weeks. I think that's as far as it'll take to beat them, finish them. Like, we're right at the end of Pokemon. We essentially have, what, 2 gyms? 2 gyms and 1 Starfall left, I think? No, 3 gyms. 3 gyms and 1 Starfall left. Then we got the Elite Four. And then we have the post game, which is apparently a thing. And then we're done with that. And then I think we have maybe 2-3 more streams left of River City Girls 2, which has been fucking amazing so far. Soundtrack, gameplay, everything's been great. Cannot recommend that any more than I have possibly done so far. And yeah, I guess that's it. So that's going to be it for me. Happy New Year, everybody. 2022 was weird because honestly, I forget a majority of what happened this year for streaming. We came back to streaming, I think, in 2022. Just take a quick peek. 2021, we started Resident Evil Marathon and we stopped. And then I stopped streaming for a while. Let's see. Fucking, what did I even do in 2022? All right, hold on here. Okay, so last year, what we were doing is we were playing Pokemon Shining Pearl, which doesn't feel like that was a year ago. That feels like a few months ago. So fuck me, I guess. We were playing Pokemon and Yakuza. And we essentially played Pokemon and Yakuza for a while. We played WWE. We played Sonic Adventure. Played a lot of Yakuza. Played a lot of WWE. There was some Beautiful Joe in there. A lot of WWE. Holy shit. There was 2 Pikmin streams. Jump Force. Monster Hunter Undertale. Digimon. The Screamies. And then, you know, Sonic and Callisto. And then basically that was the year. Like, holy shit. I feel like a lot of that was not that long ago. It's fucking crazy. I'm going to have to, you know, figure out what we're going to do in 2023. Honestly, we're going to get to the end of 2023 and I'm going to feel like, wow, a lot of stuff wasn't worth it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Happy New Year, everybody. Take it easy, relax, enjoy the new year, spend it with family and friends. But yeah, no, I'm fucking tired. I guess I'm gonna whatever and then go to bed. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll see everybody in the new year. See you then.